All of our stuff was in there too. Like people were like really and like we were bridesmaids and groomsmen and stuff to like leave our stuff. Like
Okay, hello y'all. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Elena. I really like books, and this week we are in Nantucket enjoying some time with friends, some sunshine, exploring a new place, doing some reading, and just doing all the things that Nantucket has to offer. We have had quite a busy first few days here. Our first priority after arriving on day one was going to Mitchell's book corner for the Elin Hilderbrand book signing. The rule was that she could only sign items that you bought at the bookstore. So we were all stressing about what we were going to purchase, but here's what I decided to go with. First up, I got the bag that is all of her book covers. I thought it was so cute. Then for books, I went with Ellen's first book, The Beach Club, her last book, Swan Song, the paperback specifically. They did have a special edition hardcover that you can only buy at the store or maybe online too with like bonus content, but most of my Ellen books are paperback, so I wanted Swan Song to match. And lastly, I got my favorite Ellen book, 28 Summers, and all of them are personalized to me, which is just so special. I'm so happy. Other than that, we've really just been doing a lot of eating, drinking, and hanging out. But I have been doing some morning reading, so I wanted to give you guys a little synopsis and updates of A Summer Affair by Elin Hilderbrand. As you may or may not know, most of her stories are standalones that all take place on the island of Nantucket. There are a few series. There's the Winter series, which takes place at Christmas time on Nantucket. There's that like Winter in Paradise, Trouble in Paradise series that doesn't take place on Nantucket, but is an interconnected series taking place, I believe, on St. Thomas. The exception is there are a series of 4 books in Ellen's like Summer on Nantucket series that go in chronological order. The first is A Summer Affair. The second is The Castaways. Third is The Perfect Couple, which a lot of people have read or watched. And the last is Swan Song, her final Nantucket publication. So I am like 35% of the way through A Summer Affair now, and I'm really liking it. A Summer Affair follows Claire. Claire lives on Nantucket with her husband and her young children. She has a small circle of friends. Her very best friend is actually married to her husband's brother. And one night, Claire decides to go out with a few of her friends, including this one woman named Daphne. Now, Daphne is newer to Nantucket. She used to be like a summer vacation person. She recently moved to Nantucket full time. And on this particular night out, Daphne is slamming margaritas. She's getting really lit. And at the end of the night, Claire goes up to the bar for one last drink. Daphne also requests one last drink, even though at this point she's definitely already sloshed. And Claire says, sure, why not? Gives her her final drink of the night. And then afterwards, the women part ways. They try to get Daphne to ride home in a cab with them, but Daphne ends up driving herself home. And on the way home, she gets into a car accident. She hits a deer, totals the car. She gets flown out to Boston. It's very touch and go. She survives the accident, but she's never quite the same. Now, this has caused some strain in the relationship between Claire, Daphne, and Daphne's husband, Locke, because Claire is feeling a lot of guilt about this night. She's feeling like she should have forced Daphne to take the cab. She's feeling like she shouldn't have given Daphne that final drink. And so when she goes to the home to give them like a sympathy basket, she feels like her and the husband have this strange interaction. She feels like he blames her, and just it becomes really uncomfortable. Then we fast forward several years after the accident, and Daphne's husband, Locke, serves on the like steering committee for this big charity, Nantucket Children. And he ends up asking Claire to co-chair the planning committee for their like big summer fundraiser. Allegedly, it's because Claire used to date this guy in high school who's now like a famous rock star, and the charity event is known for having like a really good musical act, and they really want Claire to ask this guy to do this concert for free. Claire thinks the whole thing is a little strange because of this strained history that she has with Daphne's husband, but since having her last baby, she stopped working. She used to be a professional glass blower, making these like really exquisite pieces for like high-end art collectors. She has a piece in the Whitney. Like, she was a really big deal. And so part of being co-chair for this committee is that she also gets to help pick what like the high ticket auction item is going to be. And Locke suggests that she like get back in the glass studio and make something really exquisite that will go for a really high price tag. Now, because this is an Elin Hilderbrand book, I know at some point adultery is going to be coming into the picture. Also, the name of the book is A Summer Affair. So I have to imagine at some point Claire is going to get into some sort of entanglement, maybe even multiple entanglements, and it's just all going to kind of blow up in her face. So that is what I'm reading now. It's actually very funny reading this Nantucket book while I'm on the island, because I think while most people will say it's nice to kind of see all the different places that are in different books, for this book in particular, I'm actually having a harder time picturing it now that I'm here. Part of it is probably because I'm not in the same places that the characters are going to. I think if I was reading something like the Hotel Nantucket or even like 28 Summers, maybe I'd have an easier time. But I think the other thing is that it's been kind of cloudy the last few days. We're supposed to get some nice beach days starting tomorrow. So really most of my Nantucket experience thus far has been concentrated to like one side of the island, and tomorrow we're finally going to go to the other side. I will bring you guys along for that and see if it helps at all with my like book imagery. And so I will see you tomorrow. Okay, hello. We are back from the beach. I do think I got some color, so I am pleased. I may have burned a little bit on my arm actually, but it's fine. I am absolutely loving this trip so far. Now that we finally had like a sunny beach day, I can say that I am like thoroughly so pleased with this visit. I have become so deeply curious about like the year-round lifestyle. And I know like everyone who visits a place that they love is like, oh, I could totally live here. And I know that that is not necessarily true, especially for a place like Nantucket. And I speak from experience as a person who is from multiple different places where people visit, use it as their playground. They say that they want to be about that life, but they can never actually be about that life. So I realize that I have now become one of those people about Nantucket. So I will just say I'm like very Nantucket curious. I feel I could in many ways be built for the island lifestyle, but I know that like there are many things that also perhaps make me not so built for island lifestyle. But all that to say, I'm having a really great time. We've met some really nice people and have just been like enjoying each other's company. It's been fantastic. I think part of this curiosity about full-time life on Nantucket has very much been sprung up by the summer affair. In this story, Claire is a full-time Nantucket resident. However, she is on the planning committee with many people who are more like summer on Nantucket people. And so the conflict between like the two different lifestyles, the two different socioeconomic statuses is really like coming to a head in this planning process. And add on top of that, that Claire is just having a lot of problems with a lot of different people on the island. Some of that is because of this illicit affair she's having. Some of it is for other reasons. But I just think that Ellen is doing a really nice job in this book kind of highlighting that conflict. And I'm honestly loving this book more than I had originally anticipated. I've read maybe 3 Ellen books this year, and none of them have like made me feel the way that several of the other books I read of hers last summer made me feel, or even this past winter. I really enjoyed the Winter Street series, but this one is definitely a contender for being one of my more favorite ones, at least at this point so far. I'm like 63% of the way through. I think if similar to other books, if it ends in a way that is satisfying but not perfect, it's like probably gonna make my top 7 Ellen books, which is exciting. So we are gonna have some quiet time now. The plan tonight is to go out to dinner. We're definitely gonna go to the Chicken Box. I'm so excited. So I will catch up with you guys when I have more to share. we have had quite the change of plans. My flight got canceled. I could not rebook for another flight today. So we are going to try to leave Nantucket tomorrow. Thankfully, another friend who was also on this trip with me also had their flight canceled. So we both booked an Airbnb together. We went out for dinner. We got more mudslides. And now I just got ready for bed. So we are going to repack my bag, maybe do some reading, and then get to sleep. I am like 85% of the way through A Summer Affair by Elin Hilderbrand. And while before I was feeling like it was giving 4 to 5 stars, and I am still very much enjoying it, right now it's feeling a little 3-star to me. Like at this point, Claire's sister-in-law has become aware of this affair, and not like any affair ever ends well, but we're getting to a point now where both of these parties starting to realize that they don't have a future together. Like this thing that they're doing is just going to ruin their lives, and they really should stop, and truthfully like probably shouldn't have started. But they're at a point now where they're like, but I love you, but also you're a reminder of a parallel universe that I will never have. And it's like, okay, so we all agree like this can't go anywhere, right? Like this is not a situation where you end up finding like a person you can actually be with and actually blend a family with. Like this is never going to happen. And so now I'm like a little over them, you know what I mean? And I don't appreciate like what this is doing to the other parties. I never did, but like especially now because both of these people in the wrong realize how in the wrong they are but aren't doing anything about it. We are also getting to like a key climax point in the planning of this charity gala, and things are going off the rails, man. And I can't help but think it's like their karma for engaging in this illicit affair that so much is going wrong so close to the event date. And the last thing that I'll say is that there's a character in this story who like earlier on kind of is portrayed as like a villain figure to Claire. This is a person who's like a rich woman who summers on Nantucket, who is co-chair of this gala, who like pressures Claire to do all these things that like aren't things that Claire wants to do, not only as a person, but also as like a representative of Nantucket locals. But now that things have gone so crazy, especially for this woman, Isabel, who's like the other co-chair, I have now become an Isabel defender. Like there has been some messed up stuff going on behind the scenes, and Isabel is just trying to throw a good party. Is she out of touch with what the actual people of Nantucket need? Yes. Is she doing anything terribly wrong? Not as bad as the rest of them, I would say. So that's where we're at in the story. I did pick up a couple of books today while we were shopping in town when I thought I was going to get on a flight, but I'll show you guys those when I get home because I'm just like a little too discombobulated right now. But I'm going to get ready for bed, do some reading, and hopefully next time I see you, it'll be after I've gotten on a plane and I'm back in Philadelphia. Back in Philadelphia. Fortunately, because it was a heck of a travel ordeal to get back, so I'm grateful to have made it back in one piece. Unfortunately, because I would obviously rather be on vacation still. But I have a few pieces that I brought home with me to remind me of the spectacular time that we had. I already wore earlier in this vlog my like gray Nantucket cozy crew neck that was so soft and cozy. I just like couldn't wait to wear it. So I bought that as well as 2 other sweaters. I believe I got this one from Tradewinds. It's a lovely little like blue crew neck with a hibiscus on it. Not a hibiscus, a hydrangea. And then on the sleeve, it has embroidered, if you can see, It says Nantucket on the sleeve, which I think is so cute. The color is perfect. I think it's a sweater that will wear well even off the island. A sweater that I got that I think will look delightful the next time I go to Nantucket is obviously the classic lobster sweater. I got this in the like navy color. They also had, I believe, gray, and they had one where the lobster himself is wearing a sweater, which I thought was so funny, but they didn't have my size. From that same store, Tradewinds, that we had gone to the first night after dinner, which, by the way, I find that the stores on like the main strip in town stay open quite late for gift gift shops. Like we were probably shopping in there around like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, which feels like really late for like a memorabilia store to be open, but I'm grateful because in addition to my sweaters, I also found this darling little whale mug. Are you kidding? I needed him so bad. He's gonna hold lots of coffee, says Nantucket on one side, and is gonna look great on the top shelf of my mug cabinet where I have all of my like fun shaped mugs, you know, the burger, the donut, Merrill, etc. He's gonna fit right in. On our day in Sconset at Sconset Market, in addition to selling delicious food, by the way, I had like the best turkey sandwich of my life there. They also had like some housewares and merch. I got this lovely little mug, which I just love the shape of it with the handle and then the little blue pinstripes at the bottom and the blue inside. The brand is Mud Pie, which I do think you can order online, so you don't specifically have to go to the island to get this. And same for these very cute plates that I got. I just think they're gonna make cute like breakfast plates or snack plates. They're again little like flower blooms. In my head they're hydrangeas, and I think they actually are. It does say hydrangea mini plate. The brand is Two's Company, so again you can order these online. They don't exclusively sell them at Sconset Market, so if you're interested, very, very cute. They also have full size. These are the mini ones. And then my last souvenir besides what I got at the bookstore that I'll show you is this little hermit crab claw clip. I'm so excited to wear this. I think this will be really fun. Maybe I'll bring it home to Long Island soon, actually. Me and the bride got matching ones. We were very excited to find them. They had all kinds of fun sea creatures at one of the stores by the marina. We got this on the day of the like boat tour around the island. Then last up, I got 2 Nantucket-based stories from Nantucket Bookworks. First of all, look at this cute little like leather bookmark that I got. It's a blue lighthouse. They had lots of different colors. And then on the back side, it says beaming. They also had, I think, like a dog. And if you flipped it over, it said something else. Like they had just had really, really cute bookmarks. So I got the lighthouse because it just felt very reminiscent of the trip. And I also think the beaming is really cute. And then I got 2 Nantucket-based novels that are not by Elin Hilderbrand, which was my objective. Love Ellen Down, but there are also other stories about Nantucket that I want to explore. So I picked up 2. One is All That Smolders by James Sulzer. This is a like mystery thriller. It's set in the 1980s. A body turns up on an island off the coast of Massachusetts, and there's a newcomer to the island who is a journalist who starts investigating the murder. And because Nantucket is such an insular community, he's really got to penetrate these long-standing relationships, uncover all these secrets, and I just think it's such a fun place for a murder mystery to be set because really it's got to be somebody on the island. I mean, I guess you could say it's a tourist, but we'll see how this turns out. Then I picked up a historical fiction, and it's a signed copy. I'm very excited about this one. I picked up Daughters of Nantucket by Julie Gerstenblatt. This story is set in 1846. It follows 3 very different women on the island. So we have Eliza Macy, who is struggling to conceal her financial trouble while she waits for her whaling captain husband to return from a voyage. In desperation, she turns against her progressive ideals and targets Meg Wright, a pregnant, free Black woman trying to relocate her store to Main Street. Meanwhile, astronomer Maria Mitchell loves running Nantucket's Anthenium, who fears revealing the secret wishes of her heart. I don't know what that means yet, but we're gonna find out. And then one night in July, there's this huge fire that breaks out into town, and all the buildings are wood, so it causes a lot of devastation. And so all of these women need to process how they're gonna move on from this, how they're gonna cope. And apparently this is like a major historical event from the island. They call it the Great Fire of 1846. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. But that is everything that I took home from this trip besides the amazing memories. Like I said, I am very Nantucket curious. I definitely see myself going back there. The last thing I'll share with you before we wrap up this vlog is that I got an excellent book recommendation from one of our Uber drivers during the trip. We were talking about full-time island life and how it can be really difficult for some people to really live on Nantucket year-round, and how the island has an especially difficult time keeping healthcare professionals on the island for lengthy periods of time. So there's a lot of healthcare professional turnover there. And so my Uber driver recommended this book to me called Island Practice, which follows an emergency medicine doctor who moves his whole family to Nantucket and ends up like really thriving there and staying there. I'm also like 60% confident that this person is still the chief of emergency medicine at the single hospital that's on the island. It was a fascinating account not only of his personal life a little bit, but also just professionally how he operates as a physician on the island. I borrowed it from the library on my Kindle, and I was highlighting a bunch, so I really wish that I had gotten like a physical copy while I was there so I could actually highlight and read some quotes to you, but it was captivating. One of the things that really stood out to me is this idea that in order to save lives on Nantucket in an emergency situation, you really need to be aware of, is this a problem where the person actually would get better care if they evacuate
evacuate? And if so, when is the best time to send them for that? Because you really have to be thinking, okay, this could turn badly in like 3 hours, but in 2 hours, we're about to get a storm. So like maybe it's better now if I just evacuate them preventatively so that they don't get stuck here. Like it's just very fascinating medical decision making. There's also some interesting commentary about how the eccentricities of this physician get conceptualized in a particular way because he is a medical professional. But if he was like an average Joe or an unhoused person, like some of this behavior would be exceptionally concerning. So I think it's an interesting commentary on like class and how we decide how weird something is for a person to be doing. Okay, the other piece of Nantucket lore that sort of got unearthed in this book, just like a hair, ties back to all of the Campbell soup decor in the Airbnb that I stayed in on my extra night. At first I thought our host was just really into Campbell soup. Like I too own a couple pieces of Campbell soup, like bowls and mugs to drink my soup out of. They're so cozy. And so when I saw them in the home, I was very excited. But then the number of Campbell soup items really stood out to me. And I thought, that's interesting. I guess they're really into Campbell soup. But then I read this book, Island Practice, and turns out at some point in Nantucket's history, I don't know if this is still true, but the heir to like the Campbell Soup Corporation, I guess, spent a lot of time on Nantucket. There was a comment about how there were people who belonged to that legacy who were spending a lot of time in the hospital as if it was their own hotel, essentially. Again, I don't have the exact quote from the book. I wish I did. But it turns out that perhaps the association of our Airbnb host and Campbell's is actually not so random. And the last thing I'll say is that I loved Island Practice, but it is really heavy, especially towards the end. There's a lot of really important discussion about what it's like to manage one's mental health on such an isolated island that is so funded by tourism, and how that becomes incredibly difficult in the off season, and how it becomes especially difficult to cope with something like that, essentially publicly, because in such a small community, there's not really any hiding of your medical or mental health struggles. Everybody is going to know if you go to see the one therapist on the island what's going on with you. And so it's definitely a fascinating read. I highly recommend it, but I also just want to warn you that it's not all like rainbows and butterflies. It gets very dark. But with that being said, I had a fabulous week. It was so fun exploring a new place. It was so great to have so much concentrated girl time. And even with the travel snafus, like that did not at all taint the experience for me. Like even with staying the extra night, I would go back. I also am very interested in visiting Martha's Vineyard, which is like the island next door essentially. So hopefully we'll have a vlog there at some point in the future. If you made it to the end of this video, comment down below a place that you have read about in a book that you are very eager to visit. And I will see you all in my next vlog. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.